If you've ever wondered how people turn points and miles into business class flights or luxury hotels, this episode could be the missing piece.
We're breaking down transfer partners, what they are, and why they're the secret sauce to getting real value from your points.
Once this clicks, points stop being confusing and start being powerful.
And you'll never look at your rewards the same way again.
Hey, I'm Chris. Welcome to the Upgraded Points Podcast.
And I'm Katie, and today we are talking all about transfer partners, what they are, how to use them, and why they are the secret sauce to the points and miles game. Before we get to that, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you have questions or comments for us, you can reach us at podcast@upgradedpoints.com. So Chris, let's dive right into this conversation because it's an important one that you really can't gloss over when you're getting into the points and miles game.
Yeah, it's true. I think there's this thought process that many people have when they get into this, points and miles game, that points are worth, 1 point each, 1 cent each. So 50,000 points may equal only $500. But that is not the case at all. In some situations, it could be worth 2, 5, or even 10 times that value.
Absolutely. And transfer partners completely change that math and they change the game. And they make even beginner redemptions feel like you're an expert.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's dive in to talk about what transfer partners actually are in plain English. No fancy jargon here. So let's just bring it back to the basics.
All right.
So in the points and miles game, you have airline miles, sometimes airline points, you have hotel points. And those are points that live within each of those programs. So your Hyatt points, your American Airlines miles, very simple to understand. Then you also have bank points. And these are what we often refer to as transferable currencies. Mm-hmm. And these are those like Chase and Amex and Citi and Capital One. And these points you earn and they live in the bucket of the bank's program. And the cool thing about these is you earn the bank points, and then at any time, you can utilize one of those bank's transfer partners, and these are airlines and hotels, and turn your bank points into airline miles or hotel points at the drop of a hat.
Like magic.
So it is like magic. Once you just, it's a simple concept, but it is one that you just need to take, a second to think about. And so, for example, you earn points within American Express membership rewards. You don't have to book through Amex to use those points. The real magic is when you transfer them to partners like Air Canada, Air France, KLM, JetBlue, Delta, Hilton. There's a huge list of partners, and each bank has different partners. Some of them overlap, some of them do not, and we'll talk about those a little bit more later in the show. So when we're talking about transferring points, it's simply just moving the points from the bank's program to your specific airline that you're looking for or your specific hotel program. And that's different than booking through a travel portal. So going back to American Express in our example, you have Amex membership rewards points. You can take those points and you can book travel through amextravel.com. You are booking and using Amex as sort of an online travel agency. The same concept as booking through Expedia or Orbitz. Mm-hmm. You're just using American Express and paying with your points. That's not always the best way to use your points. And so the better way generally to use those points instead of booking through that travel portal is transferring them out to these airline and hotel partners. And I wanted to give you a really simple example to show the difference and the different values you can get. And so I actually went back and looked at my travel list from this year. And this summer I stayed at the Hyatt Regency London Blackfriars. So this is a Hyatt property. Mm-hmm. Chase points transferred directly to Hyatt. So there is a world in which you could earn Chase points. You can either choose to book through Chase or transfer them to Hyatt utilizing that transfer partner. Let me show you the difference. Booking through Chase, one room at the Hyatt Regency London Blackfriars in summer would cost 67,000 Chase points.
Ooh.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
You could also take those exact same Chase points, transfer them at a 1-to-1 ratio to Hyatt, book the exact same room, the exact same night for 29,000 Hyatt points.
So good. And this is a nice hotel, right? These are kind of more on the higher end of redemptions, right?
Yeah, 29,000 points for Hyatt, yeah, is on the high end, and it was actually a great hotel, so if you're going to London, really nice, good hotel, good location, decent breakfast. Getting back to the Chase points, I thought that example really illustrated pretty well the difference between booking through the bank portal and transferring out, and I think a lot of people, when they get into the game, I've had conversations with people who just assume you use your points to book through the bank's portal and get a little intimidated by the transfer partners because it sounds like a big,
Yeah.
complicated process. And it really isn't. So, we want to kind of demystify that today and show you how easy it is to make some of these redemptions through transfer partners.
Yeah, and that was a great example because you were literally saving half. You're spending half of what you would if you were to book through the Chase portal, and
Mhm.
that's why these transfer partners, they feel like an X factor. And so, yeah, maybe there's an extra step involved there, but if you're getting twice as many hotel nights or double the flights for your family, I think it's worth the extra step. So moving on, we understand that it can be a little intimidating, these transfer partners. So let's say you have 50,000 points in your Chase account or Amex account. A lot of people just say, okay, well, I'm going to cash that out for a $500 gift card because it's easy and I understand how to use that. But if you take that same 50,000 points and transfer it to an airline and book a business class flight, that business class flight usually costs one, two, three, $4,000. Now you're getting 4 times as much for those same amount of points. So that's what these points can really be the X factor. And another benefit is that these points that live in the banks give you a lot more flexibility instead of locking into just one brand. So Katie had mentioned earlier, leaving your points with American Airlines or directly with a hotel, that can be great in many circumstances. But by keeping your points in the bank, it's giving you the flexibility to move them to where the deal is instead of waiting for the deal to pop up with the points you already have.
Yeah, and that flexibility is so key in this game. And that's where transfer partners just make all the difference. So, just so everyone is on the same page, I wanted to just mention the big transferable programs real quick and give you a couple examples of some of the transfer partners that they have. This is not an exhaustive list. That would take quite a while and it would probably bore you to tears. So, you can go look this up and we'll drop links to in the show notes. We have articles on all of these programs. So Chase is one we talk about all the time. You can transfer to Hyatt, United, Southwest, JetBlue, Virgin Atlantic, Marriott. Amex is another one we talk about all the time. Amex membership rewards points are some of our favorites. Transfers to Air Canada, Air France KLM, JetBlue, Delta, and Hilton. City thank you points transfer to American. They're the only ones that transfer to American. Accor, Choice, Preferred Hotels, Turkish Airlines. You've got Capital One miles. Transfer to Air Canada, British Airways, Turkish, and Virgin Red. And those are sort of the big four that we always talk about. There are a few smaller programs, and one of them that's been making a lot of splashes, especially
Hmm.
this past year, is Built Rewards. So I think it deserves a mention. And with Built, you can transfer to Hyatt, to Alaska. It's the only one that transfers to Alaska. So that's a really big one. Spirit, which was just added in December, Japan Airlines, and United. A couple other small programs that we're not going to get into. Those are sort of the big ones that are really important to know about. So as you can see, you can access pretty much any hotel or airline you can think of through those 4 or 5 major programs.
Yeah, and if you see an airline there or there's an airline there that you don't see, don't forget that all of these transfer partners are usually part of some sort of an alliance. So, for example, if you have points that earn you Air Canada Aeroplan miles and you want to fly United, they're partners. You can book many United flights directly through Air Canada, often at a really good price. So that's another level of these transfer partners that we can get into. But I just wanted to give you a couple real world examples that you can, put in the back of your mind when you're thinking, okay, maybe I have these points, how I can use them, where maybe an economy flight. We don't talk a lot about economy flights, but I know Katie and I use our points for economy flights a lot because they make a lot of sense. Domestic flights in the US are really expensive, and they can get up to $300 or $400 one way. And if you're trying to get somewhere or reposition for a bigger flight, that $400 can really, ruin the redemption value you're trying to get for that other flight. But you could book a domestic flight for 5,000 or 10,000 points or miles if you're a little bit flexible. So hop into a program like Seats.aero, check out availability. Maybe you find that United flight booked through Air Canada Aeroplan for 10,000 points instead of $300. So that's a less glamorous example, but that is something that we use all the time. On the other end of the spectrum is maybe an aspirational trip. So that big international flight, you want to go to Japan in business class. One of the most popular options is transferring American Express points over to Virgin Atlantic. And these we often see with bonuses as well, 20, 30, or 40% bonus. And you can take those Amex points, transfer them to Virgin, and then book ANA business class or first class, which is one of the best business class seats in the world. And I'm going to mess it up off the top of my head, but we're talking around 50 or 60,000 miles each way. And if you stack that with a transfer bonus, you can really bring that cost down. And these flights cost $4,000 or $5,000. So all of a sudden you're spending 40,000 miles points for a $4,000 seat. Maybe that $400 gift card doesn't look as good anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is that why you booked for Japan, or did you do something else?
No, I booked
forgot.
through Japan Airlines with American. So again, we're talking about partners.
Another good one.
Yeah. So I transferred from Citi to American Airlines and then booked Japan Airlines business class for 60,000 miles each way. Now, I talked about the ANA one because that is my goal, my dream, but the availability has been very difficult. So I like to set my alerts on Seats.aero or one of the many other services that are out there and just hope that my dates pop up, but it's not looking good. I actually had that flight booked. I booked it during the pandemic or January 2020 for 2021, and that trip obviously got canceled.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting for like 5 years to try and rebook. It just hasn't happened. Someday. Well, while we're talking about Tokyo, I'll give you a sweet spot example for hotels. Katie had mentioned Chase to Hyatt. That is one of the most famous, one of the most popular transfer partners out there, especially with Chase. Anyone in the points and miles game will usually mention that. The Park Hyatt in Tokyo just opened, and they have nights starting at 35,000 points a night. This hotel costs $1,000 a night.
That's fantastic.
So you can transfer 35,000 Chase points over to Hyatt, takes 2 clicks, and then book one of the, it's just finished a renovation, one of the brand new, freshly renovated hotels in the world that was already one of the best hotels in the world. So there's just so many ways to stretch your points further versus, just cashing out for a gift card or booking through the portal.
Yeah. That's wow. That's a great redemption. Are you staying there? Are you going to be in Tokyo?
I'm trying, Katie.
You're trying.
It's available for like 2 of the 3 nights I want, and the one in the middle is not available. And we don't feel like hotel hopping with 4 people. So my alerts are set. We'll see.
Fingers crossed. Okay, let's take a quick break, and then we want to talk about some common mistakes to avoid when it comes to transfer partners. Welcome back. Let's continue our conversation about transfer partners. Chris, what are some of the common mistakes that people should look out for when they're getting into transfer partners for the first time?
Yeah, this is something I see a lot, especially in our Facebook group. We talk about, we share a transfer bonus from a bank to a program, and everyone gets excited and asks, should I transfer my points now? And generally, we say no. Not without a redemption in mind after you've checked for award availability. Now, I feel like I'm pretty advanced when I'm with my searching and booking capabilities, and I've already mentioned twice in the show that I haven't been able to book some of these things that I want, flights and hotels, because award availability can be very tough sometimes, especially if you're limited to you know, school vacations or just high travel periods like I am right now, that availability can be really hard to come by. So
Mhm.
generally, the mistakes we see are people transferring points without checking for availability first. Then their points are going to be stuck wherever they transfer them, and that that flight or hotel isn't available for them yet. This is related as transferring speculatively. Just because there's a 40% bonus doesn't mean that you should definitely transfer. Now, there's exceptions to every rule. If you are very familiar with the program and you know that eventually you will use those points or miles, okay, it may make sense. But you need to be aware that these programs devalue their points all the time. If you transfer 100,000 points and they turn into 100,000 miles, those 100,000 miles the next day could be devalued and they could take you less further or less far than they used to. So
Mhm.
that's just something to be aware of. Another thing you need to be aware of is transfer ratios. Not all banks are going to be transferring to hotels and airlines at the same ratio. So, for example, if you want to book a hotel with Preferred Hotels and Resorts, and you have some Capital One miles, and you also have some City Thank You rewards that you want to combine and book for a hotel, you need to be aware that these are very different transfer ratios. For example, Capital One transfers at a 1-to-2 ratio. That means that for every mile that you transfer, you'll get 2 Preferred Hotels and Resorts points. That sounds great, right?
It
Then you look
does.
at it, sounds awesome until you see City. It's a 1-to-4 ratio. So you
Ooh.
transfer 1 point and you get 4 over at Preferred Hotels and Resorts. So you just need to keep an eye on, what your points are worth and what they will be worth after the transfer. And we have a great tool on upgraded points that we'll link in the show notes here, that you can just select the program you have and it'll show you a list of everything and all the transfer ratios and how long it takes for each transfer. And one final note on this is that these transfers are almost always irreversible. So you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go and book this flight and the flight's not available anymore. Those points are stuck there. There's very rare circumstances that you'll be able to get those points back. So be very careful when you're transferring. Don't transfer speculatively. I was hoping I wouldn't have to say that again.
It's a hard word to
Yeah.
say.
And I said it twice for no reason. Because, yeah, those points are going to be stuck wherever they are.
Yeah, definitely. And also, we're talking about how great transfer partners are right now. I think we need to also mention sometimes it's best to not transfer. And when you're just getting into this, you might be confused. It's like, well, is this a good situation for me to transfer my points? So, a couple times that I don't transfer my points is when there's just cheap cash fares. And like Chris said, we do use points sometimes for basic, boring domestic economy flights when they're expensive, but sometimes they're just really cheap. And in those instances, I would much prefer just to spend my money, book those in cash, and save my points for something else. Um, this is a situation I'm in right now. When you are chasing status and you are short on qualifying spend, or in my case, I'm short on loyalty points, and I have I'm an American Airlines award flight booked for next month, and I'm debating whether I should cancel it and book in cash because I need loyalty points. So sometimes that can make sense. You really have to kind of weigh like how important is that status. But that is an instance when, maybe it does make sense to book in cash and save your points for something else. For like last minute trip bookings, and also when it's your first time using a program, the transfers might not be instant. Most of these transfers we're talking about generally are instant. A handful of them are not. Um, but let's say you're booking a flight for, I don't know, next week. You don't want to get yourself in one of those situations where the transfer doesn't go through instantly, because then that award availability can vanish. And if this happened to me on that Christmas markets trip. My friend did not have an Air Canada account. And so she made the account, and then we did the transfer. And I kind of knew this was going to happen, but I tested it anyways. It waited a week for
Ooh,
the transfer to go through.
yeah.
And I think, is it what Japan Airlines definitely is one that I think you have
I
to
think
have your account open for at least a week.
I think it's
Um,
longer. I think it's
is
like
it
30
longer?
days.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
open
think
all
they
of
do.
your accounts now.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, as long as you can. I think they opened an exception when
Is it
Capital
okay?
One and
Yeah.
and
Oh, right,
built.
right, right, right. Yeah.
But I think before that it was like a
It was
month.
30. Yeah. But a lot of programs, even if they don't mention it in their terms, will not let you open an account and immediately transfer points. So that might be something where it's not a good time to transfer points, or better yet, just go and open all your accounts now so they're open and ready to go. So that's definitely a couple times when it might make sense to not transfer, save those points for a different opportunity.
Well said. I think just a couple takeaways here is that we can all agree that transfer partners are not just for the advanced traveler. They're just misunderstood. And we understand that it can be intimidating at first, but we have step-by-step guides on upgradedpoints.com that will walk you through how to make all of these transfers, a calculator that will help you decide if it's a good deal or not. And as always, just send us a message, send us an email, drop a comment in the questions, or join our Level Up Travel Facebook group, and we can answer any question you may have. Okay, and speaking about questions, we received a couple questions on YouTube in response to episode 36. We talked a lot about airport lounges. And Katie, I'm going to read this one to you. And it asks, if you have Priority Pass, can you bring a guest with you to the Chase Sapphire Lounge?
So I was really happy to see this question because I was getting ready to respond to this person on YouTube. And I went and double checked and I was wrong. So I'm really glad I double checked. So yeah, you can bring in a guest when you are accessing a Chase Sapphire Lounge with Priority Pass, but it's going to cost you around $75 when you have that Priority Pass that's not associated with a Chase credit card. And that's different than the regular Priority Pass guest access. Most of the time, you can bring in, I think, one or two guests, depending on the lounge, with your Priority Pass membership. But the Chase Sapphire Lounges are different. So, yeah, $75, as nice as those lounges are, you would have to eat or drink a lot to make that worthwhile.
The burgers are good.
I mean, yeah.
Bring someone hungry.
Maybe if you have a really long layover, they won't let you in if you have a really long layover.
Yeah.
At least that one at JFK with the snarky front desk
You
ladies.
just have to get in before the delays start.
Exactly. Another question kind of revolving around the same topic. This one was also from YouTube in response to that episode. This question is, what if you have multiple Priority Pass cards? Can you get into the Chase Sapphire Lounge once per card?
I love this question, and the answer is yes. If you have multiple Priority Passes, you can access multiple times. So many of us have more than one Priority Pass because some of our favorite cards come with them. And generally, I know a lot of us don't activate them all because we have one, and it's just easier to keep one. But if you're interested in these Chase Sapphire Lounges by the club, I highly recommend get a list of all your Priority Passes, go and create an account on PriorityPass.com, get a unique login, save that login in your notes or whatever, and then when you're using the Priority Pass app, you can just log into each one, use your one annual pass at one lounge, and then log out, bring up the other QR code, scan to get into another one, and you can use, so if you have 3 Priority Passes, for example, you can get in 3 times a year. So yeah, great question.
Yeah, but make sure if you're traveling with a friend, they have a Priority Pass too, or they want to cough up $75. But no, that's actually a really great tip that I think a lot of people probably don't even think about because, like you said, most of us just have our one Priority Pass and don't even bother with all the others. But if you don't have access to the Chase Sapphire Lounges otherwise, this is a fantastic way to get more than one entry into those lounges. So great questions. If you have questions for us on any topics, points and miles, travel related, you can email us at podcast@upgradedpoints.com. We would love to hear from you. And if you are enjoying the show, we would love it if you liked and subscribed on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and share it with a travel-loving friend. That really helps more people discover the show, and we'd really appreciate that. And otherwise, I think it'll do it for us this week, and we will see you next week.